Right, so we've come down about a kilometer further. We still have a clear lane. We have reached the point now where we are approaching the arrestor bed on the left hand side. We are about 3 kilometers from the Peter Brown off-ramp on the left hand side. Light vehicles are still restricted to 60 kilometers per hour currently, and you can see there is the arrestor bed on the left hand side. Well, the entry to the arrestor bed on the left hand side. You can see the signboard overhead: compulsory heavy vehicle commercials restricted to the single lane. "700 meters ahead of you is actually the arrestor bed, and from this point onwards is where it becomes pretty hairy. We can see that there is a delineated, very clear separation of commercial vehicles keeping left, light vehicles right. There is a compulsory stop on the left hand side coming up for the commercial vehicles. So not only is there the arrestor bed, it is a compulsory stop point, i.e. if you are heavily loaded in a commercial, engage lower gear so that you can control your vehicle going downhill, and you only need to simply just every now and then touch or dab the brakes, but if you are in the correct gear you should be able to maintain a low speed. You can see there is some enforcement out. This is where the first rather hair-raising point comes in, is when the commercial vehicles now merge back in to normal traveling light traffic. You see the lane in front of me is pretty narrow. You can keep your right hand wheels over the right hand line, the right side line, just a little bit to give yourself a little space to the left for the commercial vehicles, but eventually it does get very narrow with the concrete bollards on the right hand side, as you can see. On your left you're coming up to the Peter Brown off-ramp. It's fairly easy to pass by commercial vehicles. As you could see, the Peter Brown off-ramp is on your left hand side now. What has been implemented, which you can see, is the cat's eyes very clearly at night. I will very briefly just turn off and turn on. You can see the self-energized cat's eyes, which have now been implemented. I will do that again for you. What is noticeable here is, for quite some time the street lights have been out. They have now been all repaired or put back on, but there are sections up the top, as you saw when we came down the top, where there are no street lights and it's pretty dark. What is fairly intimidating are the massive concrete protective bollards on the left hand side. If there is a runaway vehicle, they're pretty heavily constrained by those concrete bollards. So if you do happen to notice a runaway vehicle or smoking or burning brakes, the obvious suggestion is to stay away, either drop back or go forward and pass that. Here's a prime example of traveling in your lane and following the cat's eyes. This commercial vehicle is very clearly straddling the lane. He's now noticed me and he's pulling to the left, but I can move very slightly across and actually straddle the right hand cat's eyes and quite safely pass that. Whoa, not safely, there's an Armco barrier sticking right out. But again, this commercial vehicle and the one ahead again are keeping fairly far away from the concrete bollards. The key issue here is these right hand cat's eyes, the red cat's eyes delineating the right hand side of the lane. in my opinion, should be reset slightly to the right, opening the lane. And you've pretty much reached the bottom of Town Hill. It's the Chatterton Road off-ramp just before you get to the Maritzburg Mall.